Got some new music this morning. Damn, StreamYard's done upgraded their
Felt like
intro
I was in
music.
an elevator.
Right. It did sound a little bit better than that other stuff they had. That was a little bit more soothing, I guess. So, all right, we'll get started here, everybody, at 7 o'clock. Just had to get rolling for the TV side so they can pull our stream in. And we got a lot to talk about this morning. Luke and I are in our opposing garb this morning. He's got his Alabama on. I've got my Auburn on. So,
Hey, do you know what?
All you can see is the basketball, though. It's like
what was that high school coach that got arrested? What was his charge? Do you know?
I don't really know. Running from the law, I think.
Yeah, I mean the rumor is there was a improper relationship with a student, but I don't know.
Right. Well, anybody surprised by that nowadays?
Good Lord, what is wrong? I mean,
it's just people are just crazy, man. I don't know what else to say.
Well, the thing that's been so concerning to me is the number of women on the young boys.
Yeah, it absolutely. No kidding. I mean, I guess I guess the road runs both ways, right?
Well, and the thing that bothers me
about hear about that very much.
No, so many people say, well, they didn't have teachers like that when I was back there, like wink, wink. And I'm thinking, yeah, thank God.
Yeah,
because
no kidding.
These are sexual predators just like the men are. Can you imagine how screwed up these boys are going to grow up to be?
Well, it's the same. I was going to say it doesn't matter which side. I guess somebody thinks that's some kind of little fantasy or whatever to have a school teacher hit on them, but it's terrible, man.
Every one of my teachers was 78 years old. Every one of them,
and that's a good thing.
And it worked out.
That was a good thing.
I think that may be part of the issue is that maybe we hire teachers a little too young. That they're not that far away from.
Well, here's another problem when you hire. I mean, you're trying to hire people that need a job, and then you got a segment of the population that's aging out, and they've got to fill those spots. And we're already at a deficit in teachers anyway. I mean, the whole education system needs to be looked at because pay needs to increase. If you want to get good people, you got to increase the pay. I mean, it's no different than anything else out here. We talk about pay all the time with players and these kids making all this money. Well, I mean, when you got high school kids getting NIL deals and in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, and their teachers in high school are making $40,000, there's something wrong. The pay scale's off bad. We'll get started here in about 1 minute.
You going to the game today?
Yeah, I'm going today.
Yeah, I'm going to go too, I think.
Kentucky, man. So.
Well, they may. Yeah, I mean, it'll be fun, and that they might be missing two of their guards, their two starting guards. But who knows?
That'll help. That'll help.
Yeah, I mean, shoot, the last time we played them, it was 102-97, so I mean, it should be.
Yeah, no kidding. Everybody coughing up in this place today.
Huh?
I said all of us coughing up in this place today.
And everybody's getting sick.
I'm trying not to. So, especially for next week. Good Lord.
Yeah.
We can't do that.
Can't have nobody get sick during that stuff.
All right, here we go. 30 seconds. Yeah, it's a grueling thing. It's like going to Las Vegas. You walk in the arena and you don't know what time it is, what day it is, nothing. So, all right, 15 seconds. Blanket.
Yeah, I'm down here in this dungeon. My feet are cold.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air. Glad all of you have joined us wherever it is that you're tuning us in, whether it be on TV, radio, or on social media, YouTube, Facebook, all the different outlets out there. If you can't find us, it's your fault. We're trying to make it impossible not to turn on some type of device and see where we are. But anyway, we're glad that all of you are up with us this morning on a Saturday. You got a lot to talk about. Luke, good to see you this morning from the basement, right?
From the I was told I wake everybody up when I do this in my office, so I had to come down to the basement. And when you say if you can't find us, it's your fault. That's sort of like saying if your phone ain't ringing, it's me.
That is it. Yeah, that's where I was going with it. Right. We have a slightly busy week ahead of us with the finals in Birmingham, so we'll talk about that a little bit this morning. We'll obviously be heavy in Auburn and Alabama talk basketball because we're coming down the stretch here of the SEC schedule, which is hard to believe, which means we're getting closer to tax time. When basketball season starts to wind down, it means it's time to get your taxes done. So it's kind of one of those, I love to see. I remember this when I was at the college, Luke, that I love to see the winter months and really March get gone, because when you head into April, springtime, and you kind of gotten a lot behind you, and then you just kind of look forward to the rest of the year. I hate to try to rush things, but man, the winter months just suck. I mean, I'm glad we have basketball to watch, to be honest with you, because I love outdoors. You know that. I love to fish and hunt, but the older I get, the worse I hate 25-degree weather. I mean, all the way around. There ain't nothing fun about it.
I'm sort of the other way. I mean, Andy and I have this discussion all the time that I'd rather it be 25 degrees than 105 degrees. And because when I go outside in Alabama in the summertime now at 52 years old with poor blood circulation and everything else, everything about me just sizzles. I just don't like it. I mean, it's like pick your poison. At least in the wintertime, I can keep putting blankets on me till I'm good. But in the summertime, I just can't get butt naked and run to Piggly Wiggly. Somebody's going to call me.
But I'm glad. Now, it's a good thing. Or you'll be running from the law like the guy that ran down to Florida.
That's what he did.
Yeah, Luke live from Spirit Airlines Gate 5. I mean, have you ever seen anything such a mess? I know we're kind of all over the map right now this morning, but good Lord.
I wonder, when you buy a Spirit Airlines ticket, do they send you an e-receipt and a pair of brass knuckles?
I guess so. I mean, look, and I can personally attest, I don't know if you have, I'm sure you have, Luke, because you fly more than I do. But I've flown Spirit Airlines and it sucks. And I'm sorry if there's somebody that is watching that's an executive of Spirit that was thinking about being a sponsor of our show, and they're like, well, I'm not sponsoring that now because I don't care. I don't want your money.
You ain't got any money. Everybody's suing y'all so fast. You ain't got any money left anyway. It works out.
In the spirit of things, no pun intended, there was a brawl at a gate, I think, in Atlanta yesterday, Luke. And you're not doing your company any favors when fights break out. And look, I've been through Atlanta Airport a bazillion times, and you've been through it 100 bazillion times. I've never seen a fight in there at a gate. That was a straight up, just out of control brawl. And do you know what? I didn't notice any police or anything going to break it up. They were just like, just let everybody beat the hell out of each other.
Well, what's funny is in the comments on Twitter, everybody's like, well, they've all been fired. I don't think any of those people were fired. Honestly, I don't think so. Now, that being said, the people videoing it instead, that's the country we are now. We video somebody getting the crap beat out of them instead of helping anybody or trying to stop it. But the guy videoing it was like videoing it and panning around going, man, I wish somebody would come over here and hit me. I'm going to knock the heck out of everybody. And I was like, what? How are you helping the situation?
You're not helping it at all.
Somebody at Spirit should have done something.
They were fighting behind the counter too. That's the problem. I mean, there's been video surfaced.
Undercard.
Yeah, you sent that over this morning, but I saw that several months ago where two Spirit employees got into it behind the counter. I mean, just not a good look. But anyway, We didn't want to talk about Spirit Airlines this morning.
Well, you sure? Are we sure they're full name in Fighting Spirit?
I mean, they've got the fighting spirit in them for sure. They got something in them, no doubt about it. I just never cease to be amazed sometimes. And then there's some look. You and I talked about this. We're not going to turn this into politics, but man, when you ask for things, you get them sometimes. And I'll just leave it at that. I'll let people kind of interpret whatever they want to interpret. When you want to include everybody as far as qualifications and all this kind of stuff, and there's a reason why you should be qualified for any job out there. I'll just shut up. We'll just move into the HSA. Look, this week coming up, the finals is it's a big deal. Luke, I'll talk about some of these teams as we move forward. You and I texted with a group earlier, and we'll start in 7-8, Huntsville and Hoover. I hate that was a regional championship game and not a game that we would see in Birmingham, because that game deserved to be played in Legacy Arena. Two phenomenal teams. Hoover's going for their third consecutive state championship on the boys' side. They're going for 5 in a row on the girls, I believe. 5 or 6. I went up there and interviewed both of the coaches and some of the players a few weeks ago, and they're just having, again, phenomenal seasons. And Hoover is yet to lose a basketball game on the boys' side, and they beat a great Huntsville team by 3 points. And that's a Hoover team that's loaded with Division I talent. Luke, they got 3 or 4 guys moving on. I know Dwayne Brown's going to Tennessee. I talked to him. I look like the Vulcan statue holding up the microphone to try to interview him. I felt like I was holding it. Yeah, that's how big that kid is. And he's not even the tallest kid on the team, but they're just loaded. I hate that you and I and the rest of the crew didn't get a chance to have that game in Birmingham.
Doesn't Huntsville have a kid that's going to Auburn next year?
Yeah, they have a guard, a commitment, a guard.
Yeah. Yep. So, I mean, it's silly that game. We need to figure out a better way to do this. I mean, I know geographically you're hindered by what you can do at the very beginning.
Right.
But as things progress down the bracket, it certainly would be nice if we could figure out a better way to do it. I've said that all along on the NCAA tournament. I think it's grossly unfair if one team, if there are a bunch of upsets in front of a 4 seed, and that 4 seed gets to play a bunch of, 13, 11, 8 seeds, whatever. I think that the highest seed in each bracket should get to play the lowest remaining seed.
I agree with that.
I would like that. Now, the problem is you have all these games at all these different locations, and so that makes it difficult. But maybe you could at least do it for the first round. I mean, you kind of do it in the first round anyway, I guess, because you only have 6 games. But there would be another way to do it. I just I don't like seeing one team get lucky because there have been so many upsets in front of them, and they don't have to play the best teams available. Whereas, Hoover and Huntsville, that probably should have been a state championship game. That's what that should have been.
I'm not going to slight anybody else. When you make it to the finals in Birmingham, you deserved it. But look, I'm just going to go out because you and I don't have a dog in the fight.
Look at Justin.
Just figure out a way for Spanish Fort to come to Benjamin Russell in football one time. Yeah, no kidding. I mean,
you think they even know about 60?
Benjamin Russell could be 74-0 over the stretch of like 5 years, and they would somehow figure out going into the playoffs, it would be like the 3rd round, and they would go, you've traveled, you've been at home for this, you got to go to Spanish Fort.
Let's see.
I mean, we can't not go down there.
Go to Spanish Fort.
That's right. I mean, we've never had them. Like St. Paul's has been up here, Saraland's been up here. I mean, we've been back and forth with a lot of teams, and we drew the card where Spanish Fort's like this was like the Iron Bowl back in the day when you had to, we couldn't ever get a home game, and we're fighting to get to Jordan Hare Stadium, and it's like No,
Yeah,
we'll just keep playing in Legion Field, which is completely neutral, right?
Yeah, but we didn't play that in Tuscaloosa. If you said
Right.
Spanish Fort and BRHS had to play in Greenville, okay, I think we'd be like, hey, we'll take it.
Right.
You know, that's midway. I mean, okay, we'll take it.
No, Spanish Fort would say, no, y'all come on down and play at Lad Peoples, and we'll call that a neutral site.
Hey, we got our bands running late. Can y'all just meet us down here? We got 2 flats on the bus.
But yeah, maybe so, Justin. But anyway, before we go to our first break, I do want to say that I would like to see, I would have liked to have seen that game in Birmingham. And I'm not, again, don't have a dog in the fight, but I think that game was the state championship game. Now, again, you got to go and win 2 more games in Birmingham if you want to win a state title. But those were the 2 best teams in 7A this year, and they had to play in a regional final. But hey, look, again, there's no perfect system, and that's just the way it played out. So, all right, let's get to our first break on the show here. We're just getting started on the Saturday Sports Countdown. A lot more to come right after this.
I'm going to shut this curtain just a little more.
Yeah, to cut the glare down a little bit. There you go. The Wizard of Oz curtain back there behind you.
You may close the blinds. You should have.
Oh, no, it was good. Yeah, I just hate that we didn't see that game in Birmingham. I knew it was going to be a great game. Knew it was going to be a good game.
Who went to it? Somebody went to it, right?
I just think they were watching it on NFHS.
Oh.
Caleb was sending us all email, text messages and stuff. So we got this. Here's the Beard Eves curtains behind you. Is that where that went? That went to Luke's house. It's in a good home.
Got my little piece of it back here. Beard Eves curtain.
The Beard Eves curtain. Boy, we've come a long way in both programs. I'm gonna tell you, man. Absolutely amazing what we used to have to do at Auburn to generate an environment. Now you can't get a ticket. Now everybody's begging for a ticket.
It's a lot more fun. What'd y'all do last night?
Absolutely nothing. Which it felt good to do nothing for a change. Yeah. I'm going to be doing a lot next week. So,
yeah,
that would be a good basketball podcast or Twitter account name. The Curtain.
The Curtain. The Beard Eves Curtain. I went to I drove to Mississippi State and then to Baton Rouge and back. And
really,
I got up at 3:00 yesterday morning to drive back to Alex City and then drove back to Birmingham. I'm about dead as it is.
I was going to say, good Lord, man. Nobody drives more than you do.
It's been a thing.
You get tired of driving, and then after you're so tired of driving, you get rejuvenated again.
Well, and then you get so used to driving, and when I'm not driving somewhere, I'm bored out of my skull half the time. I'm like, what am I supposed to do with all this free time? I'm usually listening to the radio.
I need to be behind the wheel somewhere. You need to get an 18-wheeler. You be making some money while you drive.
You get some of those trucks that I rented out to Walmart or something.
Yeah, there you go. All right, 7 seconds. Welcome back, everyone, to the Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air. Get your comments in as you tune us in on YouTube and Facebook. Luke, you and I will be over in Birmingham along with the rest of the crew next week at Legacy Arena. I guess you're already in Birmingham because you live there, but we'll be coming to join you. How about that? Kind of the old Milt McGregor line at Victory Land. We'll be coming to join you.
Come on over and see us.
We'll come on over and see you. All right. Let's just start in 1A. We'll just work our way through. And look, we encourage people to come to Birmingham. If you've never been to this tournament and are able to take this in, that this is a tremendous tournament. I don't think we talk enough about how well run this tournament is, and what a great a venue Legacy Arena is for this. And a lot of states around the country emulate what we do here in Alabama with our high school basketball tournament in the finals. Luke, you and I have been doing this for a long time now. Just let you kind of give your thoughts about what a great venue the renovated Legacy Arena is for this tournament.
Yeah, Legacy Arena is fantastic, and I've always encouraged people to show up. And even if you don't have a dog in the fight, you will find. Look, there are going to be some stinker games, of course there are, but more often than not, it's a game that comes down right down to it. I mean, I've seen some buzzer beaters, seen some just incredible moments. Plainview, who's back in the Final Four, I believe, that boys team, they do nothing but raise shooters. They just can shoot the lights out. Hoover will be there. I think they're 33-0 now. And like Brett said, they've got Dwayne Brown headed to Tennessee. They got some other dudes going to other schools.
Did Auburn and Alabama offer Dwayne Brown? I hadn't really looked at it. I mean, he's a great looking kid, and for Tennessee to come in and get him out of the state of Alabama, Luke, did we offer?
I feel like he's more of a Tennessee style of player.
Right.
He's pretty rough and tumble, and he's a big boy. And I think Tennessee was on him a little. Auburn and Alabama look for a specific kind of dude usually, and I don't think that's any slight towards him at all. I think he can be wonderful at Tennessee. So the girls games are usually, again, I'll be honest, the first round can be loaded with some blowouts, but the championships are usually a lot of fun because these girls teams, man, some of them are just absolutely stacked, and they've got talent on talent. Is Ace Bailey going to be there?
You talking about Ace Austin?
Ace Austin.
Ace Austin will be there. Yeah, Ace Austin's there. So she's hurt right now.
She gonna play?
Let me tell you this. She hurt her ankle pretty bad and scored 28 points in the game. I mean, everybody's like, "Yeah, man, she's hurt real bad," and and then they go, "But she did score 28. She scored 28 on a bad ankle." She's unbelievable. Yeah, but Spring Garden is 35-1 on the season. They'll take on RC Hatch Monday. So yeah, looking forward to seeing Ace Austin. I had a chance to go up and interview her and her dad, which is her coach, Ricky Austin, a few weeks ago, and spend some time with them. And I think I told you the story of me getting some B-roll footage of her and her dad working together on the floor, and Ace is like, "Well, what do?" I said, "Do what you do all the time, Ace. Make baskets." And she made like 7 threes in a row, and she looked at me. She said, "Is that good enough?" I said, "Yeah, I think that'll work."
Yeah,
I said, I think I've got enough footage now. So, but she's just like, look, she's going to Alabama, which I'm not a big fan of that, but anyway, she's a great person, and her dad is the same. I will tell you this, Luke, and we say this all the time about kids. We have our allegiances with Auburn and Alabama, but I'll be pulling for Ace Austin at Alabama because, since I had a chance to spend some time with her and one-on-one, and, she has a great personality, and we cut up about it. And, I kind of kidded her about not going to Auburn and all that. And then she kind of went into the recruiting process and kind of how it all went down. It's just hard, when you hear how the real process went down and how kids choose. We always like to think it's always about some kind of money or deal, and a lot of times in football it's become that. But it really was just the right fit for her and what she felt was going to be best for her in a team that showed her more love than anybody else. And she was very complimentary of Auburn and the program, and said she would have loved to have played there too, but she picked Alabama. And look, you just got to tip your hat. We all have our favorites and the places that we want to go. So look, I'll be pulling for Ace Austin, and I'll be watching all Alabama women's basketball a lot more when she gets there.
It is good that Sarah Barker, that
Sarah Ashley Barker,
that we saw her play for Spain Park, and of course she's been in Alabama a while now and just an incredible athlete. But we've seen a lot of these girls that have played in the HSA and gone to star for either Alabama or Auburn. Shoot, I would argue. I wonder if we've seen more girls go to Alabama or Auburn than we've seen boys go to Alabama or Auburn over the years.
Absolutely. No doubt about it. Yeah, I agree. And so, because Auburn's got a boatload that has gone. Auburn just picked up another commitment from Phoenix City, a girl that's a really good player. And excuse me. Yeah, she's going to be fun to watch, Luke. She's the real deal. You and I've been covering her. She's broken about every record that you can break in girls basketball here in the state of Alabama.
Phoenix City, both boys and girls made it, right?
Yes, that's right. Both boys and beat Auburn to get there.
Yeah.
Just like, this is almost a repeat of what you get in football. You get it seeming to come down to those two teams all the time. So, all right, so we'll take another break here on the show for TV, and when we come back, we'll continue to run down the matchups for next week in Birmingham. Stay tuned. More to come right after this.
Did you go to the going away thing for Liz Holland?
I did not. No.
Because, I bet you they'll miss her, right?
I'm sure they will, yeah.
Who's going to take her place?
I think she's – I'm not sure if that position's been hired yet or not. Somebody out there that's watching may know. I don't know. Man, I got so much other stuff to keep up with myself. I don't –
Been so busy minding my own business, I ain't got time for everybody else.
Ain't no question. I'm gonna set a record for see how many times I can clear my throat in the first 20 minutes of a show.
Man, I've been I was doing that so much, and so I went to the allergist, and they've had me on all this, going and getting allergy shots and whatever. I've been doing it for X many years, and I just don't feel like it's changed. Yes, maybe changed a little.
Sure,
but part of me is just like, hey, this may be something I just have to deal with. I don't want to do it, but
right. Well, you live down here in the South, you have to deal with it.
Mm-hmm. Where's Randy today?
In Birmingham, soccer tournament all weekend.
Oh wow, where is it? Do you know?
I have zero clue.
For daughter or son?
Yes, Cecilia.
How old is she now? 9?
9. Everybody's growing up, man. Don't take long, does it? We should know, right?
I know that's right.
Justin said he had to go shoot the Forest Run. Yep. That's this morning. When
I did that one time, that was enough.
Kind of like the pole plunge.
Yeah.
I'm going to go do that one time and say I did it, and I'm not going to do it anymore.
About killed me, man.
Hey, but I will say this while we got a little time. The Forest Run, we can't thank them. I'm going to put my Board of Education hat on for a second for Alex City. That goes to the funds go to the Alex City Education Foundation, and we appreciate everybody that participates and appreciate Russell Lands for what they do and donating that money to the schools. And the new Benjamin Russell High School is coming on up, folks. It's getting there.
When is it open?
I think if we stay on track, they'll have the keys to us in late November or December of this year.
Wow!
So we'll be getting kids in there in January.
So they actually will make the transition into the school year.
Oh yeah, during the middle of the year. Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely. All right, here we go. 8 seconds. Welcome back, everyone, to the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air. Get your comments in. Got a lot of comments coming in. Henny said, "What's up, guys? Been a long time since been in this chat. Just wondering thoughts on the Luka trade. Legit, or is Nico trying to move the team?" So, I'll be honest with you, Henny. Unfortunately, I don't watch a lot of NBA anymore. I used to love it. I think Luke was the same way. I think probably Luke and I were the two biggest NBA guys in our group. And I'm just and I've said this a million times, and I'll say it again, it's an unwatchable product for me right now. The NBA is it's just boring. The superstars always have some type of agenda. I can't just watch the games without them getting behind the mic and telling me their stance on things in the world. And I don't, that's not why I tune in the NBA. And I know the LeBron James shut up and dribble crap was kind of blown out of proportion, but that's really kind of why people tune in football and basketball. And they're not, and Michael Jordan said it in his documentary. He's like, I never got mixed up in politics. I never endorsed a political candidate because, I wanted everybody to.
Well, he said Republicans buy shoes too, I believe is what he said.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And he wasn't going to back anybody, and they begged him to back a candidate for Senate in North Carolina, and he didn't do it. And and again, I just think that people don't tune in Michael Jordan to get his thoughts on the Russian Ukraine war. They get it. They tune in Michael Jordan because they want to hear about basketball and they want to know because that's his area of expertise. It's not a shot. They tried to make that. LeBron James tried to make that into a confrontational and controversial issue. And the bottom line is LeBron James is phenomenally talented and is one of the best of all time. But people don't tune in LeBron James to get his take on inflation. That's not who I'm tuning in to get my information about the economy. I want to get now. If he has a lot to add about basketball, then I'll listen. That's kind of my thoughts on it.
Yeah. The other things, LeBron, what he set out the All-Star game.
Yeah.
That was, and look, LeBron seems to be, and LeBron is the lightning rod for all this, whether that's fair or not. He is.
But he is.
But, he seems to – my point is if LeBron really wants to make the world a better place for other people, what he could do is retire and let somebody else make some of the money he's making because he's making so much. He's got enough for several lifetimes. Now, you could say that about a lot of other CEOs. You could say that about
right.
You could say that. Nobody's stopping LeBron from making money in any other venue. I just look at it like when I watch the NBA, I don't feel like I see folks that are super hungry. Like everybody's got so much money. It's kind of
they play the game that way
on the court, and
I agree.
I think baseball's like that to me. The reason football isn't is because football only has so many games, and in football, you get beat up severely every game. Just about no matter the position you play. You're subjected to the elements no matter what the elements are. You're going to get somebody who's just as big and strong and fast as you are, if not faster. And in the NBA, sure, you go up against some really rough and tumble dudes. But when we see things like these stars that are thrust upon us, and I say thrust upon us, I probably shouldn't say it that way. Zion Williamson, for instance.
Right.
Well, this is a guy that, they've marketed this guy, and he's just never playing. Every time I look at the box score, I'm like, does he ever play?
He never played.
Victor Wembanyama is out for the year. Is there a reason to watch the Spurs play anymore? I don't even, again.
And they got their own problems with him. That's a potential career-ending condition that he's got.
I didn't know that.
Deep vein thrombosis, which caused several players in the past to have to retire. Who were the big three at Miami? It was Shaq and Dwayne Wade.
Wade, Chris Bosh, and LeBron.
Chris Bosh had to retire. because of that. And and it's affected several others. So, and Wembanyama is
he's a freakazoid.
he
Now,
is a freakazoid in his ability and his size. And when people are that big, they have conditions like this that pop up. So, everybody hopes that, he can recover and they can get this treated and where he can play because, man, it's such a painful condition that I guess, you can't, some people can't handle it and they have to call it quits. So,
well, and the other thing is even, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the guy from Golden State who everybody seems to hate most time from Michigan State. I'm
talking about Draymond Green.
Draymond Green on his podcast.
Yep.
He talked about how the product isn't great. That it's just a
bunch of I saw that. Yep.
And look, you say, okay, well, what about the college game, Luke? I mean, don't you enjoy watching? I mean, I'm going to love watching Alabama, Kentucky, and that's going to be a bunch of 3-pointers today, right? Yes, but I think the crowd's involvement is different. I think the
effort's way different. The effort from the players is way different.
When you go to an NBA game, and I've been to several, and I've got a son that lives out in Phoenix, so I've been to a few Phoenix games. Yeah, there are some diehard Phoenix fans. I don't want to mislead anybody, but it's almost like you're sort of there. It's like going to a movie. I mean, in the movie, you don't when Arnold Schwarzenegger shoots the communist in the face, you don't jump up and give a fist bump.
Right.
You're still pulling for whoever you're supposed to pull for. But like in the NBA, it's kind of the same way. It's like, that was nice, and it just, again, it feels like there's a fog of apathy on the court.
Well, look,
the players sometimes.
Look, I've got to say this, and everybody, I know pro sports, especially NFL, when you look at, the biggest national championship viewership ever is 36 million, and the Super Bowl's in the hundreds of 100+ million. So it's not comparable. I will say this though, it is hard for me to fathom getting excited like I do for Auburn or you do for Alabama for an NBA or an NFL team. To go sit in the stands and be that passionate. Look, I like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Y'all know that. That if I pick a team because, you have different reasons. Well, I pulled for the Buccaneers for 30 years. And I pulled for them when they sucked, when they used to wear the creamsicle. And it's just like, I didn't want to be a Falcons fan. Everybody else was a Falcons fan. And I didn't want to be a Falcons fan. So I was trying to decide whether I wanted to be a Tampa fan or a Saints fan. I picked Tampa. And, here lately it's been really good. We've won a couple Super Bowls and Tom Brady played for us and it was great. And but I've never gotten upset over a Tampa Bay loss. Like I watch my team and I'm watching them and I'm like, I want them to win. But as soon as the game's over, man, I'm on to something else. Like when Auburn, I'm into it so much. And if they lose, man, it's a hangover. It carries maybe over into the next day sometimes. And it's like, I can't fathom myself. And I think that's why you see the golf clap from fans in the stands, Luke, even though they live in that city and they're diehard. And look, Philadelphia Eagles fans and all those other fans that are rabid may say, you're an idiot. You don't live here. You don't know how it is. I just pulling for a bunch of guys that make multiple millions of dollars and the way they carry themselves, I can't get that excited about. I'm sorry.
The ratings are bad. And then you see the other day that that ESPN and Major League Baseball are dissolving their partnership. And that, again, I think that is a product of several things, but ESPN is beginning to fail, it looks like, which is sad for me because that was my childhood,
Well, it was all of our childhoods, but they've done it to themselves, Luke. They have done this to themselves.
But part of it is that this bloated contract they have with the NBA that they can't continue to pay for all these other things. They have this massive NBA contract. And, look, I'll watch it. If the other night I was out of town, so I went to Olive Garden. I'm sitting at the bar and they have an NBA game on and I'm watching it, but I'm not caring about it. I don't even know any of the players.
Right.
If it were a college game, if it were St. John's and Rick Pitino up there, I'm probably watching that.
Absolutely.
Even though I don't care anything about St. John's, they have stories, they have interesting stuff. And, it's a shame because I used to love the NBA too, but I think there is something to be said for, the NBA has so many games that and they have so many teams in the playoffs.
And that definitely is the problem with Major League Baseball. The 162 games every year is just beyond grueling. And look, I like baseball. You don't really care for it. I'm a big baseball fan, but the 162 is too much. All right, let's get to our next break for TV and radio. Everybody, stay tuned. More to come right after this. But I'm a big, I like baseball. I'll watch baseball, but half the league is out of the race 3 months into the season, and so they're so far behind. It's like, man, what are they going to do for the rest? Yeah, what are they going to do for the rest of the year?
Yeah,
and so they are just going through the motions because they've got a contract obligation. They're like, well, I got to show up and play. I got to play 100 more games because my contract says that. So,
and they get, I don't know another way to do it, so I probably shouldn't complain, but. And they get all these bonuses for hitting home run. There's nothing team oriented. It's like,
right.
If you strike out so many people and then they get mad if they don't get the opportunity to do whatever and get that extra money. I mean, I don't know. It's just there doesn't seem to be a lot of cohesion with it. I know that goes on in the NFL too, and it's a little different than NFL.
But man, the NBA though, I can go back. I think you and I grew up in a time. And I get the pushback from from a younger generation about these players. But I mean, when we turned on the NBA on NBC on Saturday morning on Saturdays, like, dude, that was must watch TV, like in the afternoon. I mean, it could be the Phoenix Suns and the San Antonio Spurs, and you got Barkley and all that group versus David Robinson, and then you got the Bulls coming on playing the Knicks, and then the Pistons and the Celtics, and then you just keep listing it. Every one of those teams had multiple top stars, and they played a style of game that was so fun to watch. And this crap now, man, is like Steph Curry, yeah, he's gonna fire up a logo three. LeBron James, he's gonna do what he does, and then Luka and. Luka just looks out of shape. He's a great player, but he looks like he's 35 pounds overweight playing in the NBA. And I know he performs, but it's just not the same. And then Nikola Jokic, he's a great player, but I'm not drawn to him. They don't have the same appeal, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's a difficult watch. And I'll tell you what was on the other day on the. I was just flipping around and like the dunk contest from 1988 or 87.
Oh yeah, right.
And it was Dominique against Michael Jordan, and they were. The dunks were pretty pedestrian by today's standards.
Yeah,
but I remember thinking at the time, like, this is just out of bounds, banana. And the thing was, they did it with such ferocity. And then, of course, I watched the dunk contest with Mac McClung, and it was.
Yeah, but he's in the G League. He's in the freaking G League.
I know, but a guy's got a hoverboard, he's spinning around, and then
15 seconds.
He dunks them, huh?
15 seconds, just letting you know I'm about to come in.
Yeah, but he's in the G League, so it doesn't count. And then the other guys I've never heard of.
I'm with you. All right, here we go. Welcome back, everyone, to the Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air. If you're looking for a place to go watch the games today, go to JR Sports Bar and Grill. Great food, great environment, all the TVs. They'll have multiple games on. Alabama plays when, Luke?
5 o'clock.
5, and Auburn plays at 3. So there's the place to go.
There's your afternoon.
There's your afternoon. Go to JR Sports Bar and Grill. They'll kick it off on at 3 with Auburn, and then Alabama will follow right up at 5. I hated the games were on the other night at the same time. Both teams played at 8 o'clock.
I just hate that they're on at 8 o'clock.
Yeah, no kidding, man. That is and especially in the midweek, man, that's rough on people, man. Like, especially if you got season tickets to either one of those, and if that's a home game, that's the best opportunity to go get if you can actually withstand, the next day and knowing that you're going to be kind of a zombie at work or whatever. That's the best opportunity to get a ticket for a decent price is is a
Well, and
midweek
then
game.
Alabama couldn't even get out of Missouri because of the weather. I don't even know when they got out of there, but I mean, it was like they were snowed in for a little bit.
Yeah, the weather's I'm so tired of snow and ice and just 22 degrees. That crap can just get on up past.
Planes flipping over.
Yeah, exactly. Get on up past Canada and going back up to the Arctic where it belongs. But yeah, let's see. John, good to hear from you as always. Kyle said, Brett, who's matching up with CM and that Catholic wide receiver? Yeah, we just got the transfer from Catholic, Bedgood. He's a phenomenal player. Won a state championship along with Kingston Preer, who's the quarterback, who's transferred to Benjamin Russell. This is going to be a very, very good football team next year at Benjamin Russell. Just a lot of skill position talent. And if they get the lines of scrimmage figured out, it's going to be a great season for the Wildcats, I believe. So again, going to be interesting to watch Coach Johnson, Kurt Johnson, new staff come in and kind of rejuvenate this team and from what happened last year. And not that it was a terrible season, but it was a little bit of a disappointment based off the year before going to the quarterfinals. So Cedarian Morgan, we'll talk about that for just a little bit since we're taking your comments. Cedarian Morgan, by most stretches, Luke, has moved up to the number one player in the state in all recruiting services. And depending on which one you look at, it's the number one wide receiver in the country. And others have the kid, I think, that's going to the guy
Christian
from
Keys.
Christian Keys. 1A, 1B, really. If you look at those two guys, but Cedarian is by far the highest ranked recruit that Benjamin Russell's ever had. Malcolm Simmons was right there. El Toro Freeman, Michael Goggins, Eric Brock, Marquise Gunn. I can just keep going down the list of top-ranked recruits that Benjamin Russell had, but Cedarian, and we all saw this in the middle school. We knew he had a chance to be, if he continued to grow and progress, to be a superb athlete, and he is. And so heading into his senior season, he's going to be a lot of fun to watch, especially on this team with the pieces that are around him now. Luke, Cedarian narrowed his choices down to the top six. You look at it from a situation where I think it's Alabama and Auburn, and you've got Colorado, Florida. I'm trying to think of them off the top of my head.
I think it was Colorado, Florida, Miami, Bama, Auburn, and
Georgia. Clemson. No, Clemson. Clemson was on it. So, yeah, John, now how about tune in just more than once every other week? No, I have washed my sweatshirt, okay? So, actually, I have 20 of these. I put a different one on every day. I don't ever wear the same one. So, but Cedarian Morgan, look, phenomenal player. Just an outstanding young man, been around him. And look, I would say, and I'm just looking into our recruiting crystal ball. I mean, I definitely think he could go anywhere. And look, just because he's narrowed it down to 6 doesn't mean Oregon or Ohio State can't come in, because they're definitely in the mix too. But he's planned official visits to all of those schools that we just talked about. I think at the end of the day, it'll come down to Alabama or Auburn. I mean, and that's the way it happens most of the time, Luke, with in-state players, no matter where they are, whether they're in Louisiana, South Carolina, Georgia, whatever, they usually stay with a hometown school if you got a good school to go to. And so Auburn's been recruiting well, need to start winning a few more games. And Alabama, of course, has been Alabama for the last 18 plus years. So I think he probably ends up at one of those two when it's all said and done.
Yeah, I would probably lean that way too. But there's another kid that Alabama just offered in the Birmingham area. There's a lot of good wide receivers in the state this year, and in the South always has some great wide receivers anyway. But John Dent says, y'all make sure you order your strawberry onions out of Plant City, Florida. What exactly is a strawberry onion?
That's a good question. I don't know.
And why?
Yeah, I guess they make the best strawberry onions in Plant City, but
Don, do you have a vested interest in strawberry onions?
is he peddling strawberry onions for some reason? Um,
Everybody needs a niche.
Yep, yep. So anyway, I just want to, just kind of go back and talk about Sedarian for a little bit more. Again, great kid, and bright future wherever he. And again, it goes back to what you and I talked about um, with Ace Austin, or Ace Bailey, as you call her, Ace Austin. And look, you pull for kids when you get to know them. Yeah, you want them to go to your school that you pull for, but you want them to make the choice that's best for them. And so we see a good opportunity for Sedarian, no matter where he ends up. He's going to excel. He's a great kid, and I think he's going to do a really good job. Looking forward to covering him his senior year. All right, I know 30 minutes ago, Luke, we were supposed to get to the matchups in Birmingham, and we're almost at the end of the first hour, and that's what normally happens on this show. But we are going to break down the matchups. We're just going to run through them. We're not going to go through all of them and give our thoughts. I'm just going to give you the schedule as we head into next week. We're up against another break here on the show, so everybody stay tuned. More to come right after this. Hey, let me just say this, Rebel Yell, and I know you comment on our podcast every morning, and you comment on the show. I'm not going to address this because I don't know anything about it. Okay. So look, I'm not throwing shade at you or anybody else. So until I hear something or something comes out, I'm just not going to address it, man. So you can keep sending comments and whatever. And I'm not saying you're wrong. Okay. I'm just saying that I'm just not going to address it on the air. Because I don't know. And look, if they're doing that, it'll take care of itself. I'm just not going to get into a bunch of back and forth on that with kids.
Is he talking? I am curious, Rebel Yell. Feel free to chime in.
He can elaborate. Yeah, I don't care. I mean,
is he talking about the two players that transferred to Mitchell Russell?
Yes.
And look, I'll say this about that. I don't know what he's talking about either.
I don't. I'm just being honest about it. I don't know. I'm not.
And I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm saying I don't know anything about it. But I also say this, that no, if that has been going on, I would suspect it probably won't fly very well. I would be surprised it would fly anywhere. So right. I'm like Brett. I think if it were to happen, I think that it would take care of itself, hopefully. And that's sort of the problem with social media, is people do very stupid things on there sometimes, and it can haunt them for the rest of their lives. So hopefully this is not something that comes up again. And hopefully, because apparently these two guys have some golden opportunities to move on to the next level. Right. And hopefully they realize, okay, we don't need to be doing stuff like that, and we can chalk it up to immaturity is my hope, if that has happened.
And I'm the same way, Rebel Yell. I'm not look, I'm all for doing things the right way and for people to conduct themselves in an ethical manner. So, but all I can go off of is information that I have, and I don't have any information on any of that. So, and said we should talk to asking questions about the coach that left Cat in the nightmare. Look, okay, we will. I can do that, no problem. So, if there's an issue, then why has it not come out yet? You're talking about something that's going on, I'm assuming, all the way back to last year. So I'm just going to leave it at that, and I'll look into it 100%. But all right, here we go, getting close. Got 10 seconds. All right, welcome back, everyone, to the Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air. I'm glad to see the sun out. The sun's beaming behind you there, Luke, between in the windows. So, yeah, one of those things is Sunshine Heating and Air is the place to go for your heating and air needs. And Kevin Kill been part of our team for a long time, one of our partners here on the program, so we can't say enough about him. So go check out Sunshine Heating and Air for all your heating and air needs. Been doing a great job here in the Lake Martin area for years. All right, Luke, just kind of close it out here in the first hour. We know we'll be on in the second hour talking about a lot of Auburn and Alabama talk, the SEC, everything in college basketball. But let's talk about the games in Birmingham next week. We're excited about being up there. Great basketball, girls and boys. We'll get things started on Monday with boys 1A and girls 1A and 2A. So if you look at who's up first, you got Brilliant and McIntosh on the girls' side, along with Spring Garden and RC Hatch. That's your Final Four on the girls 1A side of things. Spring Garden, the defending champs. What a great team and Ricky Austin won his 1,000th game this year. So just a tremendous career for him. On the boys side in 1A, you got Hubbardville versus Brantley and Oakwood versus RC Hatch. So again, RC Hatch, both boys and girls making it to the state championship semifinals there in Birmingham in 1A.
That'd be a great stat to find out. How many times has a boys and girls squad made it to the finals? And it's a lot more often than you think.
Yeah.
I really think people would be surprised how many times it happens for both of them to make it.
Yeah. And, to be honest with you, I'm a little shocked not to see Spring Gardens boys in this championship game because or in the Final Four because they were undefeated going into the regional. I think they were 32-0, Luke, going into the regional. So Spring Garden upset there. And it had to have been Hubbardville. I don't have it in front of me. Or it may have been Oakwood. Just have to go back and look at it. So I don't know who knocked them out. If somebody knows who knocked them out of the regional, let me know. All right, 2A girls, Decatur Heritage and Abbeville, Pisgah and Highland Home. Boy, Highland Home here lately in about every sport, football, basketball, baseball. I mean, they've just been getting it done. I know Highland Home's been eerily close to getting over the hump in football, but Reeltown, they keep running up on that Reeltown buzzsaw, Luke, and Reeltown keeps knocking them out in the semifinals. So, but Highland Home really, really good all the way around.
That's sort of the Benjamin Russell going to Spanish Fort.
There's no question about it. Highland Home cannot stand looking at Reeltown, and Benjamin Russell can't stand looking at Spanish Fort for sure. So, John, we'll get to those recruits in the second hour here. I know he's asking you, Luke, about some of the Alabama recruits. All right, 2A boys, Decatur Heritage, Providence Christian, and Section in Tuscaloosa Academy. On Tuesday, 3A girls and boys, along with 4A girls and boys, you got Lauderdale County. Lauderdale County and the girls, 32-1 again, Luke. Do they ever lose? I mean, I know they lost one this year, but it's every single year. Every single year they get there. Man, it's unbelievable. 32-1 against T.R. Miller, who's 22-1. Sylvania and St. James will be in the other side of the girls' 3A bracket. Boys 3A, Morris Hill Bible, that's another program that just seems like they're there every single year. In everything. They'll take on Houston Academy, and Glencoe will take on Montgomery Academy, and Montgomery Academy's 32-2 on the season. In 4A action, girls, it'll be Good Hope versus St. Michael. Look, St. Michael's only been around since 2017, and we see what's happening with football down there. With Phillip Rivers, and they're about to get over the hump. His son Gunnar Rivers is tremendous. Here their girls are in the semifinals get 4A and getting ready to take on Good Hope, which is a great program too. And then there's Plainview. You talk about Plainview. Both the girls and boys make it again, Luke. Plainview girls will take on Trinity. That's going to be a phenomenal game there in the girls 4A semifinals. And then the boys, Plainview versus Fairfield, going to be a great game. And then the other side will be Brooks versus Jackson. And, of course, Jackson, we know what they did in football this year, just destroyed everybody. And their boys are sitting at 21-4 in basketball. So some good matchups.
Again, it's just the same cast of characters, but it's every year it's a lot more fun, it seems like.
All right, moving into Wednesday next week, you'll get 5A and 6A action. Scottsboro will take on Viger on the girls' side, along with Ramsey and Marbury. So that's your two girls' games. On the boys' side in 5A, you've got Gunnersville taking on Viger and Winona taking on Sylacauga. And Sylacauga at 29-3 on the season. Tremendous team. One of those 3 losses to Benjamin Russell. So just a great program there that will be taking on a very good Winona team there in the boys 5A semifinal. Moving over to 6A, Luke, Hazel Green. We see them every year. Hazel Green. This is a team. Hazel Green may be the favorite to win 6A. And you look up in Spring Garden, beat them by about 35 earlier in the season. And that's a 1A. That's a 1A Spring Garden. It tells you how good Ace Austin that team is. Hazel Green will take on Park Crossing, and then Mountain Brook will take on Chelsea there in girls 6A action. And boys 6A action, Pinson Valley will take on McGill-Tulane, and Gadsden City, who knocked out Oxford, who a lot of people felt like may have a chance to win 6A. Again, Gadsden City outplayed them and beat them there in the regional final.
City's got a bunch of athletes. I know the Alabama commitment on football in the defensive backfield, Zion Gibson's on that team. That they're good.
No doubt about it. And then we'll move into Thursday action. Girls 7A, Hillcrest Tuscaloosa will take on Daphne, and Hoover will take on Phoenix City. And then the boys, Florence will take on Fair Oak, and Hoover will take on Phoenix City. That's a Hoover team is 33-0, going for 3 in a row. And the girls 30-4, they're going for 5 in a row. 5 or 6, maybe 6. So I've lost count. They've won so many.
I mean, that's nuts that you could have been in, 6th grade watching this team win state, or forget 6th grade. I mean, probably like 4th grade watching the high school win state championship. Go, man, maybe that could be me one day. And then like now the pressure's on you to not be the one to screw it up.
That's exactly right. Absolutely it is. So just a tremendous program there. Coach Johnson, Coach Ware, both are doing a tremendous job. I enjoyed spending some time with them a few weeks ago and getting their thoughts about their program and kind of how they do things up there. Just very humble. Both coaches, just phenomenal people, and it translates onto the court. They just run great programs. And again, when you go to Hoover, and we talk about Hoover, and since Hoover hadn't won a state championship in football in a few years, we go, well, man, Hoover's down. Hoover ain't down in anything. You go walk the halls at Hoover. I saw all the track and field trophies that they have. I look at what they've done in basketball. I see what they do in baseball and softball, and all the other sports. And in football, they're really good. They just haven't gotten back over the hump and won a state championship in a few years. But there ain't a thing wrong with Hoover athletics. I can tell you that.
No, they're doing just fine.
And you can ask everybody else in Birmingham. They're going, yeah, nobody feeling sorry for Hoover. They're a really good program, and they're doing really well. So, but that's the lineup. And then, of course, Luke, we'll start getting into championship games there on that Thursday as well. We'll start having 1A and 2A championship games there on the second half of actually just 1A on Thursday. And then when we get to Friday and Saturday, it'll be the rest 2A through 7A championship games. So make it up to Birmingham if you've never been to the finals. It's a fun tournament and great basketball all the way around. All right, we're up against the top of the hour break. We got it all in there, Luke. We We stand by what we say. We got it all in before the top of the hour, and as we head into the second hour, we'll dive into Auburn and Alabama and a lot more. Stay tuned. Second hour of Saturday Sports Countdown coming up right after this. All right, the second hour, we'll get your comments on anything going on with Auburn, Alabama, and the SEC. What a crazy conference as Luke covers back up with his
Feet are freezing down here in this dungeon.
Fleece blanket down there.
Man, I got this blanket. It's called what's it called? Unhide or something. And
Unhide.
I mean, I bought one for my mom. You know, she's going through all these chemo treatments and whatever. And
Right.
so she's cold, and boy, I got one for the house, and it's unbelievable. These
Top
things
notch. Yeah, who doesn't like a good blanket, dude? So
it just feels great.
Well, I'll be glad to not be using blankets. And I know you and Justin feel opposite of me on that, but I'd rather just be burning up than just freezing to death. I'm sorry. A bunch of wind blowing and just
don't go outside. I ain't got to go outside. Well, you go on the lake.
I want to go outside. That's the problem.
You go out and fish and
hunt and all that. I mean,
just quit fishing.
Can't do it. Can't do it. Just like y'all got too much Bama in me. I got too much fishing in me.
You do look at all those fish on your back wall. Pheasants, ducks,
everything else. Poor animals. The dog's alive though. You'd see him moving by me. I don't have him. For
now.
Yeah, for now. All right, here we go. About 15 seconds. John got you back. Touche. Do you have a vested interest in those blankets?
Yeah, but I bet you ain't eating a strawberry onion right now. I'm using this blanket.
We learn something new every day on this show. All right, here we go. Welcome back, everyone, to the Saturday Sports Countdown, hour number 2. Again, brought to you by JR's Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air. Couldn't ask for two better partners on the program. Been with us for a long time. And JR Sports Bar and Grill, Luke, just last year celebrated their 25th anniversary. And then, I mean, we're rocketing right along here. Actually, now that we're in 2025, we're moving on up to 27 years of JR Sports Bar and Grill. So always glad to have them as part of our program and what we do here on the show, along with Sunshine Heating and Air with Kevin Keel and just great people all the way around for all your heating and air needs. Go call on Sunshine Heating and Air. All right, Luke, let's dive in, man. We'll get a flashback to last Saturday since you and I haven't been on the show together. Crazy game, the hype. Look, I'll say this, lived up to billing. It was a good basketball game. I know somebody had to lose, obviously. I felt like it was me. I felt like it was Auburn that was probably going to lose going on the road. And so on my side, I was expecting to say, look, going into the number 2 team in the country's house with this much hype and coverage and all, it would be tough to come out with a win. But, Auburn withstood a few runs by Alabama in the second half and was able to make some key shots. And, I thought when Alabama came back and tied it with like 6 minutes to go in the game that it was probably about to swing in Alabama's favor. So I found out a lot about Auburn being able to hold that off because that was a crazy environment. I thought for the most part it was a clean game, just two really good teams going back and forth at each other. And, we saw Todd Pettiford make some key shots to kind of knock things back up and give Auburn a lead again when Alabama tied it. But overall, I know there was things that Alabama wished they'd have done better. I know there's things Auburn wishes they would have done better, but it ended up being a great game.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun being there. And it is different than football because, I'd probably still be depressed if it were football. And, I got over it pretty quickly because it's just the nature of basketball. And, I thought when Mark Sears hit a big three and tied it up, that might have been 65 all, something like that. And then I think Auburn came right down, hit another three. Then Alabama hit another three, and then Auburn hit another three. It reminded me of the Providence game in the NCAA tournament in Louisville years ago with Billy Donovan coaching them in the 80s, where it felt like Alabama would come down and make a run, and then Providence would just start nailing threes. And you got to give Auburn a lot of credit for that. There was one opportunity I think Alabama had to take the lead. They had the ball, and Sears took a three and missed it. That might have changed things, but, in the end, you got to get more from – I think the difference is Auburn's getting more from its experienced players, where Alabama's got to get more out of Grant Nelson. They got to get more out of Cliff Amore, even though Amore's only been here for 1 year. They've got to get more out of him, and one way or the other. Grant Nelson – unbelievably, I think Alabama had a chance. That was in the first half, and they had a chance maybe to tie it. And Grant Nelson took off from like the free throw line.
Man, what was he doing right there?
And I said it on the Locked On Bama podcast. It reminded me of when, Wile E. Coyote's chasing Roadrunner, and Roadrunner stops on the edge of the cliff, and Wile E. Coyote keeps running, and then he holds up a sign and says, "Help!" And he
exactly.
just,
well, I know he was probably jacked up, and he was excited, and he's like, "Man, when you're." Your adrenaline's rushing and you think, man, I'm about to take off. And then he's like, well, my physical ability, my mind said I could, but my physical ability said I'm going to fall about 3 feet short.
The heart says yes, but the body said no.
That's exactly right.
And so be it. But they've got to get more out of some guys like that. And then another thing that I don't think is any coincidence, Alabama started out down 9-0 to Auburn. They lose by 9. They started out down 12-0 to Missouri. They lose by 12.
It's like you can't spot a team 12 or 9 points. You got
to start off better. And I know Alabama cut the Mizzou game to 6 and Auburn and tied the Auburn game, but when it exerts a lot of energy for you to have to tie these good teams up. And every night you're playing a pretty good team. We're seeing some differentiation now. Georgia's come back down to way back down to earth. South Carolina's not good. LSU's not good. But, somebody like Alabama's got Kentucky today, and I know they've got some people hurt, but it's still Kentucky all day, every day. They swept Tennessee. That's a pretty big deal. With hurt, by the way, when they were dealing with a lot of injuries. Then Alabama plays at 8 o'clock game against rough and tumble Mississippi State squad with Josh Hubbard, who put up 38 on Alabama last time they played. Then they travel to Tennessee, who is still in the top 5 or 6 in the country. Then they welcome in a Florida team that's number 2 in the country. Then they travel to number 1 Auburn. Nothing gets easy. So, like I said on the podcast that, hey, I hate that I feel this way, but I've said it for the last few years. I wish I cared more about the SEC title game. That's what should be bothering me, SEC championship.
Right.
But I know this whole team's judged on what you do in March. Just like last year, Auburn wins the SEC tournament, everybody's riding high, and they lose to Yale, and people look at that year as a failure. I hate that. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I get it. I just hate that that's the way we look at things. I look at Alabama several years ago with Brandon Miller. They win the SEC and the SEC tournament, and they're dominating. They're awesome. And they lose in the Sweet 16, and people are like, that team didn't accomplish much. I'm like, are y'all out of your minds? But now I'm just like, okay, that's the way we're going to judge people. That's what worries me, by the way. I'm not going to go off on a tangent. It worries me about that in college football, where that it's all about the playoffs and that's it, and nothing else matters. And I think when you win the SEC tournament or SEC championship, it should be a big deal, but it's just not anymore. People judge if you have a 500 record and make the Final Four. Guess what? People say it's a great year when it's really not. Do you understand what I'm going with?
No, I totally understand. I mean, everything you've said, is spot on because that's what people. I mean, Kentucky went 30-0 that year and lost to Wisconsin in the Final Four. And
that may be the most dominating team. You think about them or UNLV in '92, I guess.
Right.
Not 92, maybe 91. Those may be the two most dominating teams we've ever seen. Maybe that UConn squad with in the early
Ray Allen and all them.
Whatever. But UConn ended up winning it, but the UNLV team and the Kentucky team didn't win it. They make the Final Four. Kentucky was undefeated until they dominated everybody. And we're like, that team underachieved. I mean,
it's an unfair judgment, no doubt about it, because you're like, well, all the stuff you did to get there obviously didn't count. But you just count what happened at the very end, which is an unfair judgment for a bunch of kids and coaches that poured 6 months of blood, sweat, and tears into something, and they get judged on one game at the end of the season. So, yeah, I've got my thoughts on – got a couple of things I want to go back and forth with you on here. Got to get to our next break here on the show for TV and radio. So, everybody hang on. Stay tuned. More to come right after this. Like, I want to talk about the SEC tournament. I just don't think, as far as if you're in Auburn or Alabama shoes or Florida shoes, I mean, you ain't worried about playing in this tournament. Now, if you're Arkansas, Georgia, some of these teams that you need to go get a couple wins to try to boost your resume, yeah, I mean, it means different things for different people. But just think about whoever's going to win this SEC tournament, what they got to go through and who they got to beat to get there. Yeah. I mean, it's just grueling. And do you want to expend that much energy and effort? I mean, that's a lot of effort and energy about to go into the March Madness tournament. And you're like, well, if I would sit Janai Broome and Chad Baker-Mazar.
You see, the other side of that is that the reason I'm not worried, it would be one thing if Alabama and Auburn didn't play tough schedules. But see, I'm looking at Alabama still has 5 losses, and Lenardi and the CBS guy both have Alabama as a 1 seed. And I'm like, I don't want to – listen, I want to be a 1 seed. I'd rather be a high 2, the highest 2 than the lowest 1. But I want to be a 1 seed. But that's why I'm with you that, like, if that's the case, and as long as we don't get embarrassed walking out the door in these last few games, everybody we play is ranked. So let's just finish that up, lose on Friday in a close one, and then still get that 1 seed. Now, everybody can bitch about it, but I think what we'd say is, okay, play our slate. Play that.
That's kind of why I look at Cooper Flagg and Janai Broome right now. And look, there is no question Cooper Flagg's phenomenal. He's unbelievable. And, he's definitely should be freshman of the year and blah, 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 and all that kind of stuff. But he ain't played near the schedule that Auburn has played.
No.
And Janai Broome's numbers are about equal to his with the schedule he's played. And I'm not saying Cooper Flagg couldn't put up the same kind of numbers against the schedule, but he hadn't played those teams. It was your argument last year about Alabama's schedule versus everybody else's. And you're like, well, we lost some games, but and when you look at it, it's the truth. I mean, when you go and play the schedules Auburn and Alabama played this year, and you got other teams and weaker conferences going, well, my record's better, but it is apples to oranges, man. It ain't even close. So,
100%.
I mean, I looked up, and Auburn will have played or is going to play everybody in the top 11 right now in the country. Alabama's about to play everybody they play coming down the stretch is ranked. I mean, it's
the last 8 games, I think, was ranked.
Right. I mean,
and the number 1 team twice, the number 2 team once, the number 4 or 5 team once. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Right. It's wild. It's wild.
And most of them on the road is the problem.
Right. It's, Auburn, kind of, this little 3-game stretch at home came at a good time for Auburn, but then they got to go to Kentucky, to A&M, and have Alabama come in at the end. So it's like there's 3 – you could end the season on a 3-game losing streak. after you've done all this. I mean, it's crazy. All right, here we go. Welcome back, everyone, to the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill. Sunshine, heat, and air talking Auburn, Alabama basketball. I want to go back to the tournament. I think you look at the tournament depending on where you are and how your season's been differently. If you're Auburn, Alabama, Florida, I guess you can throw Tennessee in there. Missouri definitely now. If Missouri finishes the season strong, I mean, you're looking at prepping to go into the NCAA tournament and trying to get your players as healthy as possible. And, it just doesn't mean – I mean, yeah, it's nice to hang a banner. But at the end of the day, you are judged on what you do in March in making the tournament. And, Auburn, I'll be honest with you, another great season right now, maybe the most dominating season Auburn has ever had. And the last 3 years, Auburn's either been bumped in the first round or the second round of the NCAA tournament. So that starts to become something that weighs on your back and a pressure to get to the second weekend of the tournament. And, I've already heard the rumblings from Auburn fans and other fans around the country. Like, if Auburn doesn't make it to the second weekend this year, it's going to be a massive disappointment. So, again, don't know where you're going to land, don't know how you're going to draw. And, yeah, you got to go and play the games. But Auburn at this point, they're looking at 3 years in a row right now of not making it to the second weekend. And it starts to weigh on you a little bit. And maybe you start pressing and start getting a little tighter when it gets time for the tournament. So hopefully they can get over that hump this year.
And that is the beauty of the tournament, that it changes a lot. The whole dynamic changes a lot. That's the beauty and also the flaw, I guess. But again, it should be fun. Looking forward to it. I mean, I'm not going to say I don't enjoy the drama of the SEC tournament, but I wish we could figure out a way to do it. If you were, again, I don't see the benefit of Alabama, Auburn, Tennessee, Florida, teams like that, A&M, Missouri, playing in this SEC tournament. So if that's the case, I would almost rather have, okay, let's have a different tournament. And by the way, let's not say that the SEC tournament champ is like an SEC champ. I always
it's not.
I always thought that was stupid.
Regular season means way more because 18 because you've proven it over 18 games, not a hot run of 3 games in a tournament.
And not only that, but it's a money grab. The tournament is a money grab. The conference tournaments are a money grab. The Big Ten, for the longest time when we were growing up, Brett, the Big Ten didn't have a conference tournament. A lot of these places didn't even have a conference tournament. They were like, our regular season is what matters. Well, then they figured out, we can do a bunch of games in a row and make a bunch more money. And again, I get it. We're all in business to make money, yada, yada, yada. But that sort of put us on this path of where we are. And, where everybody's after the money now. And it sort of has really hindered a lot of these sports in terms of changing the way fans look at them. And so I would like it more if it were just the regular season mattered the most. And there really wasn't even an SEC tournament. I wouldn't care if there's no SEC tournament.
Well,
but here's what you could do. You could do another tournament and say, we're going to call it the bubble tournament. And we're going to put, 16, 28, 35, whatever number you want, teams from around the country. We're going to put them in this bubble tournament. And if you're like, for instance, in Arkansas, who's like one of the last 4 in right now, they'd be in the tournament. Somebody from maybe North Carolina this year would be in the tournament. Well, all of a sudden you say, okay, we're going to do this big tournament. It's going to be basically in the middle of America. And we're going to do this every year. And the winner of this tournament, or maybe you have 4 brackets, and the winner of those 4 brackets, they get to the NCAA tournament.
And I'm fine with that because they needed to play their way in anyway.
Yeah,
and they shouldn't have an advantage. They should be a little tired. They should have to put forth more effort because they didn't have the results in the regular season. So,
Brett, you could do it this way. Say, okay, here's what we're going to do. We've got 32 bubble teams, so we're going to have 16 games. And the NCAA tournament selection committee can match up who plays who, and the higher seeded team gets a home game. And I know for some people that would suck, but the higher seeded team gets a home game. Say, okay, the winner of these 16 games gets to go to the NCAA tournament. That I would be down for that. I just don't want. I mean, if Auburn didn't win the SEC tournament, number one, it won't mean anything this year. Auburn will still be probably the number one overall seed, so it won't mean anything. And
I don't expect. How about this, Luke? I don't expect Auburn to win.
But it doesn't help
the SEC. That's what I'm saying. Well, last year it didn't help them. Auburn thought, and that's another thing. I thought Auburn got too caught up, and they were a 4 seed going into the tournament. They thought they were going to be able to up their, if they won it, they would be up their seed. And when they found out they didn't, and I think everybody, the coaches, the players, everybody went, well, crap, man, that didn't help. Now they're sending us out west, and they just felt like they got screwed all the way around, and maybe that overtook everything they had done, and they got caught up in that to the point where they weren't ready to play against the Yale team. They looked deflated, and they looked like a team that was still dwelling on the fact that they didn't get the seed they thought they should have gotten, and they lost. I mean, I just think that was part of it. So you found out real quick, because we always that just shows you that the tournament committee has pretty much already made their mind up going in to that weekend of where people are going to be.
Yeah.
They're not going to give you a higher seed based on you making a run in that tournament. It just ain't going to happen, because if it would have happened for Auburn last year, and they didn't do it.
Yeah, they do seem to have their minds made up a little bit. I don't know. Again, I just feel like we could alleviate some of this stuff if we changed up the way that the conference tournaments are, just eliminate conference tournament. Now, the problem with that is, and John Dent says the SEC tournament will be like the SEC championship game and likely go the way of the dodo bird. I totally disagree. In fact, I think it's going to be worse, because they're not getting rid of the SEC tournament. It makes too much money. They're not getting rid of the SEC championship. Makes too much money. Some of these other conference championships may not make as much as the SEC championship. And
I do think the SEC championship football game and all these championship football games, I know they make a boatload of money, but this year, after watching that game, Luke, that needs to be reevaluated. I mean, Carson Beck, Georgia, really their realistic chance of repeating went down the drain at halftime when he got his arm hit.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, you start thinking, and Texas is like, how many times have I got to come to Atlanta and play a game? I got to play an SEC championship game. Now I got to come play a playoff game over here. And if they would have made it to the NCAA, if they'd have made it to the national championship game, they'd have been in Atlanta for the third time. It's like there's some things that were exposed this year in that playoff, which, again, you knew it was going to happen, that need to be changed, period.
Yeah, and, again, I'm for getting rid of the SEC title game, even though I love it.
But it doesn't mean anything anymore now.
I know, but I do hate it, because I
do too. I hate it too.
My favorite memory is the 2018 SEC championship game, and I've been to every national championship Alabama's been in since '92. And the reason that one is because of the drama, Tua getting hurt, Jalen Hurts having to come in, Kirby with the fake punt. I mean, all that stuff is so. I mean, I remember sitting there going, "Oh my God, I can't believe this is happening," and yet I'm advocating for that game to go away.
Well, because things have changed, and it's a different landscape now. All right, we're up against another break. Stay tuned. More to come right after this. I'm with you. I mean, it's weird to think that we're in a situation now where you got to look at eliminating these conference championship games because they don't mean anything, or Luke, incorporate them into the playoffs somehow and make them a playoff game.
Well, the problem with incorporating them into a playoffs, it wouldn't be fair for Georgia and Texas.
True. Because somebody be eliminated, right?
Instead of, and then you say, okay, well, it's not really a conference championship game, because what if you said, okay, well, instead of Georgia, Texas, what if we just put, seeds 8 and 9 there? Well, then it's really not a conference championship game. I mean,
no, you're right. I mean, bottom line is, and then the playoffs, really there wasn't a reward for the team that got a bye, because didn't all 4 of them lose?
Yeah.
All 4 teams that had a bye lost. They never got a chance to play a home game. So That was backwards. So
Well, what that's people are going to use that to say, well, we should expand to 16 so everybody gets a home game. And at this point, I'm sort of like, yeah,
you've already said it. You've already said just go ahead and do it.
Well, I mean, I've already said go for it because I knew they were going to do it anyway.
It's inevitable.
We can't stop it.
Inevitable.
I mean, the team that got screwed the most this year is Oregon. I think that's clear. Because they had to play. If you were reseeding the tournament, there's no way you'd make it where Oregon has to play Ohio State.
I'm with you on the NCAA tournament. Like, if you get a 1 seed in the second round, you got to play an 8 or a 9.
Yeah.
I mean, that ain't some kind of reward, dude. I mean, look, that you look at Auburn when they made the tournament and played in Birmingham a couple of years ago, and Houston was the number 1 seed. Auburn and Houston played in round 2, and Auburn was an 8 seed, and there they were. Like, I see exactly what Kelvin Sampson's like, man. We're a 1 seed, and we're basically playing an Auburn home game.
Yep.
And they're the 8 seed, and they're a good team. You know, they're not only
they were bad, yeah.
No, I mean, you're playing a good team, basically in their backyard, and this is the reward we get for being a 1 seed.
Yeah,
I mean, it doesn't make sense, man.
But see, the committee's not dumb. They move people around. They knew that if you put Alabama was in that same Birmingham pot.
Absolutely.
If you put Alabama and Auburn in there, they'll get a big crowd and they'll make a bunch of money.
And they did.
Okay, but the problem is then you're toying with you're compromising the integrity of the tournament itself, which nobody seems to care about.
Well, because when you get the love of money involved in everything that you do,
yep.
You compromise integrity and ethics.
Yep.
I mean, that's exactly why you have ethics laws in the country, that because money manipulates people's mind and it makes them do things that aren't right. And the NCAA committee and the NCAA organization have been doing it for years. That's why they got Doge in Washington now, right? People have been stealing for years.
Yeah, and
and the ones that are mad about it are the ones that their faucets getting cut off. All right, here we go. Welcome back, everyone, to the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air. About 25 minutes left on the show this morning, and you can get your comments in. We appreciate all of you that tune us in each and every day throughout the week. And then, of course, on Saturday mornings here to get your Saturday started on the Saturday Sports Countdown. Luke, finishing up our talk about the SEC tournament, I want to talk about Nate Oates for a second. And Nate Oates over the last couple of weeks, and coming in after the Auburn game, he had some pretty coarse things to say. You know, I defended him on our podcast. I said, look, I don't care who you are. I don't care what level of player you are. When you're not doing what you need to do to help you got to be called out. And, I guess people can say it's throwing you under the bus. And if you belabor the point too much, where it's week after week after week, you're pounding a guy, I can see where you're like, all right, man, you need to back off a little bit. Maybe you need to take a little bit of the blame. But, you said it earlier. Auburn's getting a little bit more out of their experienced players and Alabama's not. And, I don't know at this point Nate Oates knows how to do anything other than to say, look, I need Mark Sears and Grant Nelson to be better. And if we don't, we ain't going anywhere. And I think that's kind of what he was saying.
And it'd be one thing if it weren't true. I mean, now Sears played a lot better against Missouri. He had 35 points and I think 5 assists, maybe only 4 turnovers. But Grant Nelson was kind of nowhere to be found again. He had 2 big and 1 fouls in the first half that led to a big first half lead for Missouri. And, he's got to step it up. And what you're doing as a coach, again, if he were saying this every game, that'd be one thing. But I think he's just been saying it lately like, hey, I got to find a way to motivate this guy. Some people are motivated by reward. Some people are motivated by criticism. Some people are motivated, for different reasons, like by playing time or whatever. Well, I mean, I would have no problem if Grant Nelson can look at himself in the mirror and say, I've played really well these last few weeks. I think he's lying to himself. And I think the same thing about Cliff Amore. I think the same thing about, even Jaron Stevenson to a degree. People really the fans killed Jaron Stevenson. The one thing I'd say about Jaron Stevenson, I think the effort's there. I'm not sure he's as necessarily as talented as Grant Nelson or Cliff Amore. And so I think Jared Stevenson had a moment in that Auburn game kind of late in the game. He makes a great steal off a rebound, and all he's got to do is turn around and put it in, and he overshoots the goal.
I know it.
And but I appreciated, when everybody was like, "That's Jared Stevenson," I was like, "Yeah, but you got to give him credit for the effort." I mean, he missed the shot, but we all miss shots. The effort is what I appreciate. Whereas you look at somebody like Mo Diabate, I don't ever worry about his effort. That man brings it every single game. The Missouri game, Mo Diabate comes down. He has, I can't remember exactly how many, double-digit points, double-digit rebounds. He had one more rebound than Amore, Stevenson, and Grant Nelson combined. It was 10-9.
Well, and then he brought that up. I mean, Nate Oates talked about that. He's like, he said we got killed. He said Missouri's guards out rebounded our guys except for Mo, and he said, again, you could tell he's like, I don't really need to keep pounding our players, but I don't know anything else to say other than I've got to tell them they ain't getting it done. And and again with Mark Sears, I think he responded well, scoring 35 points. But and look, I'll tip my hat to Missouri on this, and I'm not trying to I'm not trying to be the Alabama defender over here in the Auburn sweatshirt. I'm just saying that I don't think anybody would have beat Missouri the other night.
Man, you got to give that coach credit. He was 0-18 in the conference last year.
Right.
I mean, they picked it up, and I mean that's just sometimes all you can say is that's pretty cool. Especially it's easy to do it with Missouri as they're so far away. It's not like I feel like I have a rivalry with them, but I really thought the Missouri game was needed. I'm glad we played Missouri on the road versus, say, Tennessee at home. Well, we played Tennessee on the road versus, say, Mississippi State or Florida at home, or even Kentucky on Wednesday night. And the reason is what I was worried about was after the Auburn game, it probably put a dent in the team's psyche. We had this opportunity. The crowd was there. Everything was there, and we sort of screwed it up. Give credit to Auburn, but
sometimes it's a little bit more pressure on the home team.
Auburn had the same thing the week before.
I totally agree with you. I mean, it kind of works in a reverse fashion sometimes.
No, I totally agree with that. Now,
Latrell Wrightsell, John, is who Alabama's missing.
Yeah, he's out for the year, but he's going to be back next year. Yep. But I think, but
who knows anymore, right?
Yeah, well, I think he's going to apply for a medical hardship. Right. I think he'll get it, but hell, you don't know. But going back to, I wanted it to be Missouri because I was like, look, either Alabama's going to come out and they're just going to kick butt, and I don't want to waste that. And I would like to use that effort on the road, right? Or they're going to come out and they're going to be flat again and they're going to lose. And I'd rather lose on the road against a good team than drop another home game. So I feel like, all right, it worked out that we go to Missouri and Missouri just played lights out and they beat us. And now here's the problem. It can't be 3 in a row. I mean, you got to take care of Kentucky today. Got to take care of Mississippi State at home on Tuesday. Then you go play a tough Tennessee team that's going to punch you right in the gut and in the face and do everything. They're just going to do it. And you're not going to get the calls because you just don't. And you got to know that going in, and it's okay. Deal with it because it's part of adversity. Go in there and show that you can overcome it. But I think it was good that they didn't play another home game because I think they would have lost it whoever they played to on Wednesday night. So I'm glad it was an away game that was tough versus losing another.
Well, and we saw Auburn come back and play Arkansas, and we talked about it all week on the podcast that, this game meant more for Arkansas in the fact that they come into Neville Arena and get a win that would possibly push them over the hump on the bubble if they continue to play a little bit better. But on the flip side, you coming off an emotional game on the road, it's hard to get up when it's just human nature. You're going to look down and you see a team that's toward the bottom of the league, and you're going to go, well, I mean, yeah, we're back home. Maybe we can let our hair down a little bit. Maybe we can relax a little bit. That's what I was telling Faith on the podcast the other day. I'm like, you don't go to somebody else's house and just flop down on the couch and go get in their cabinets and roll around on the floor and spread a blanket out and just kick up. I mean, you can do that at home. You can be a little bit more messy. You don't have to have everything picked up all the time because and so what happens is you let your guard down sometimes. On the road, you're a little bit more attuned and dialed in and focused. And I think Auburn, coming off an emotional win, came home and obviously looked sluggish and didn't play up to the level that they had played most of the year, defensively and offensively. So, and look, if you're Arkansas, you're kicking yourself in the you know what on the way back to Fayetteville, because if they'd have just hit a quarter of those missed open shots they had, they get out of Auburn with a win. But they just couldn't throw it in ocean either, and we're very lucky that Arkansas had a bad shooting night too. So,
yeah, and I mean, again, sometimes it just goes that way. And
but if Arkansas would have been on, they'd have beat us. Period. Because
Yeah.
we played bad. That's just
you know,
basketball.
Arkansas is funny because Arkansas has been playing better. I mean, they played Alabama tough for
They
at least
did.
that game in Fayetteville, and they played Auburn tough. I mean, this is a team that somehow unbelievably is going to make their way in the tournament, I bet you.
No doubt about it. All right, up against another break. Stay tuned. More to come right after this. Yeah, I mean, Big Z didn't have a point. He was 0 for 10. And he's been averaging like 15 to 18 points a game the last 5
I know,
or 6
yeah.
games.
He was
He shot out 0 of 10, didn't hit a shot.
That's crazy.
I mean, so he kept throwing them up too. He's like, one of them going to fall.
Well, I mean, when you're the good news, when you're that tall, I mean, it's easier to shoot a
No, absolutely. Well, he could
He
just
nails
about
it.
just stand at the 3-point line and reach over and drop it in the basket. His arms are so daggum long.
But what Florida's got a guy that's going to be playing next year that's 7'9", right?
That's unbelievable.
Like Shaq did a short with him, you know, a video short where like Shaq is
I saw
talking,
that.
like talking something, and he turns around and he looks up and he's like 7 inches shorter than this guy. It's nuts.
It's wild to see. Boy, daggum, if Wembanyama had deep vein thrombosis, I don't want to know what this guy.
Well, I think he's already redshirting because he might be a little injured. I can't remember.
Man, it's just because that's so unnatural. Humans
Yeah.
aren't supposed to be that big.
Like how do you even get in a? Hey, you know what? Maybe he can sue Uber or Lyft because when they show up, there ain't no way he can get in the car. If that woman makes a dime,
I was gonna say, man, that's pathetic, isn't it?
I would-
It's terrible. It's the dumbest lawsuit ever, in my opinion, was the McDonald's coffee lawsuit years ago. You're pulling up to the drive-thru to buy a beverage that is steaming hot. And when some of it sloshes on your hand and it burns you, look, all of us that's ever drank a cup of coffee has had coffee spill and it hurts. But it's like, oh, the coffee was too hot.
Yeah.
Well, what happens when you go pull up and it's a daggum lukewarm coffee and you're like, man, this is crap. You get to sue them because it's not hot enough. I mean, it's like, come on, man. We take lawsuits, just jump all over things that should be common sense, and it somehow they prevail. So I would not be surprised, Luke, if she doesn't win some money off of it.
It's going to make me really mad if she wins that. I mean, I there's nothing I can do about it.
I mean, the guy just said, look, man, you ain't getting in here.
And I don't blame him.
I mean, that's what I'm saying.
And she's like, okay, so the same thing would hold true for a 7'9" guy, right? Like if he's like, hey, he can't get in a Camry. I'm sorry, he just can't.
He cannot fit in there physically. Just ain't working. What kind of car do you get for a 7'9" guy?
Something with a moonroof or something.
Seriously, you stick your head out.
You're going to need one of them George Jetson things with a big window on it like that.
That big glass dome.
What is he go? I mean, what
I don't know what you ride in, dude. Seriously. Horse and buggy.
I got to look up his name.
Yeah, he's a giant, man. All right, we got 10 seconds. John's not going to let it go, man. He thinks every topic we bring up has got a vested. Oliver, what? Oh, here we go.
Rieux. I would say Rio, but I don't know.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Saturday Sports Countdown as Luke gives you a spelling lesson as we come in from this break. Again, get your comments in. No, I don't have a vested interest, John, in product litigation. I'm just saying, if you spill coffee on your hand, it's your fault. And don't blame the restaurant for it being too hot. That's what you won't, right? You don't go to the drive-thru to get a lukewarm cup of coffee. You want it hot. So if you spill it, now if somebody slings it on you, if the McDonald's employee had thrown it on you, that's different. But when they hand you the coffee and you know it's hot and you spill it on yourself and you decide to sue the company because you spilled hot coffee and you win, to me, that's ridiculous. So, but anyway, that's me. Whatever.
But I'll tell you what, this big rapper, if she wins her case, this will take the cake from me.
This big rapper, no.
Well,
hey, no, it won't take the cake for you because she will have taken the cake.
She does.
She took the cake and everything else. All right.
I give up.
Well, I mean, seriously, I mean, it's.
Well, what if she had gotten in it and
got stuck?
Well, and broke an axle. Does he get to sue her?
All right, we took an Uber. I got to tell this story real quick. We took an Uber this past weekend in Orange Beach, and we were down there with another couple, and they ordered it, and it was a Prius. And I'd never been in a Prius before, and I hope I never get back in one. But it was like the guy was driving it, and I'm sitting in the back with two other people, and like literally, like it is a sardine can. And I was like, and I'm not trying to offend anybody with a Prius. The car was great. The car was immaculate shape and all, but you know, we're all sitting there, and it like, man, you really feel like you start to kind of get claustrophobic a little bit because you're packed in there, and my head was touching the ceiling of the car. And I'm not obviously overly tall, but you know, I am 6 foot tall, but my head is pressed. It is pressing on my head. I'm like, I got to hang my head out the window.
Yeah.
Like I'm starting to get claustrophobic back here.
Labrador.
Now, exactly. So I'm thinking, I mean, so yeah, I mean, certain cars can't fit certain people. I mean, tall, wide, all the in betweens. So it just is what it is. But anyway, I don't know how we got off on that. I think you were looking up the guy for Florida in the height, 7'9", and he'll be playing for Florida next year. Just a crazy, crazy tall dude. All right, let's look at the standings, Luke, because I know we want to get.
Wait a minute, can I answer John Dent's question real quick?
Sure, why not?
John Dent says he wants to hear about the two guys that committed to Alabama in the last couple of days.
Okay,
That's fair enough. Number one is Chris Booker. He was talking about an offensive lineman. He's out of the Atlanta area. He's 4-star, high 3-star. The staff loves him. They really had him in camp. They targeted him. They love him. They think he's going to really, blossom as a senior, and they're really excited about him. 6'4", 284. Then there's Jamarian Matthews, who was at Sparkman High School. And unfortunately for us with the HSA Radio Network, he's transferring to Gainesville, Georgia, which I believe is where Josh Niblett is coaching now. And so he's transferring, and he's, consensus 4-star, really good player, rush in, national top 150, top 200 kind of guy. And so he just committed yesterday. So everybody that was worried about Alabama recruiting and no, neither one of these guys are in state technically, although Atlanta is just right up the road. And then, of course, Jamarian Matthews was in state. I think that should alleviate some fears, but it takes Alabama's class from like 70th in the country to number 11. And there could be some more commitments coming rather shortly. So I think they'll move up. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, they also have Zion Gibson committed for next year. So they've only got 3 commitments. They're all pretty highly rated. And again, number 11 in the country with only 3 commitments, pretty good deal.
Before I forget, and I've got to say this because it was a feat last night. Since we're kind of bouncing around, Auburn and Alabama gymnastics last night. Auburn got its first win ever in Coleman Coliseum in gymnastics. So tells you how far that program's come. Alabama dominant forever in gymnastics over Auburn.
I think we're the worst program in the SEC right now, though. I really believe that.
Y'all ranked 17th in the country.
The conference is ridiculous, but not every school in the SEC has gymnastics, I don't think.
No, they don't. But I mean, a lot of them do now. And but you look
they
at
were like over in the league.
That's crazy.
But I haven't been paying attention.
They've got two really good, like Alabama's got two really good gymnasts, but Auburn, top to bottom, is a better team. And obviously, when you're having to score in 4 events and you're having to take, you can only drop 1 score, and you really only have 2 solid gymnasts, and the rest are good, but not maybe up to the level of the team you're competing with. You're gonna lose, man. I mean, you can still have a good team and not win a match. I mean, it's crazy.
And I do hate it because Alabama gymnastics used to be this big thing under Sarah Patterson, but I have no idea who the coach is right now, or if you even call him a coach. I have no idea.
She's a former Alabama gymnast.
Is it Duckworth?
Yep, I think so. Yep.
She's still there?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I believe that's her. I believe that's the name. She came to Auburn, was an assistant for a while, and then she took this job at Alabama. So I think that's her name.
Dana Duckworth, maybe.
I'll look it up and see.
Deborah Duckworth, something Duckworth.
But anyway, Jeff Graba, though, at Auburn has turned Auburn's program around and just really, really, really good over the last several years. Of course, Suni Lee helped you a lot, but don't have Suni Lee anymore, and Auburn's ranked 10th in the country now. But you got Oklahoma, who's won 3 or 4 in a row, and they're number 1 in the country, and now they're in the SEC. Boy, this conference in every sport is stupid, man. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Yep, there's no doubt about it. I mean, in softball, of course, Oklahoma's the
Ashley Johnson. Ashley Johnson is the coach.
Well, it was the Duckworth group.
It was, but Ashley Johnson's I thought that didn't sound right. I remember Duckworth, but I think she took her place. But she's been the coach there for since 22. She's been the head coach there for, I guess this is going on her 3rd year. So
she might, if she keeps losing to Auburn at home, she might want to take a picture.
That wasn't a good one for her last night for sure. I mean, it's the first time ever to lose to Auburn. Anytime your arch rival, Bill Curry, ask Bill Curry how it worked out for him. He had good records, but he couldn't beat Auburn, and it was like, yep, got to show you the door. And
let me correct you. He had a good record. His other records were.
Well, didn't he have 2 years in a row? He was really good. Didn't he have 2?
I mean, like they were fine. They were.
Well, he was undefeated in '89, and then
'89 was the only one that was good.
Yeah, I thought he was similar to that the year before, the year after.
'88, we beat Army in the Sun Bowl. I mean,
yeah,
well,
maybe I was dreaming. Maybe I was just hoping that he was.
He lost to Memphis.
Yeah.
He was not great.
He was for us, though. But anyway,
I will tell you, of all the coaches we've had, I probably still dislike him the most. And it makes me even madder that, the Mike Golics and all these other guys on ESPN who've worked with him say he's just the best man they've ever known. I'm like,
right.
Okay.
Okay, whatever. All right, let's get to our final break. Stay tuned. One final segment right after this. All right. Well, you're right, John. I can't throw Peyton Thorne, or nobody can throw Peyton Thorne under the bus anymore because, but I mean, a lot of it was warranted. I mean, I'm not trying to bash anybody, but I'm going to tell you this. When kids, and they are kids still, but they start signing contracts and they get NIL and all this kind of stuff, I'll never forget. I can't remember what show it was on, but really, well-respected sports analyst said, all right, guys, things about to change. You taking a paycheck, don't get mad when the fans boo you. We used to look down on that and say, don't boo a kid and blah, blah. Hey, it's a whole different ballgame now.
Yeah.
And, you pulling in 6 figures, some of you 7 figures, and you play like crap and you get booed off the field, don't get in your feelings about it.
No. So cash the check and move on.
That's exactly
But that's
right.
the problem, Brett. That's what I'm talking about. Like, that's where, they finally taught NFL players, NBA players, Major League Baseball players to do that, right? And they are. But the problem is then they don't kind of care. And it is all about the money. And all of a sudden, like, it feels like there's a luster off of it. Look, if you ever have played sports, and I mean, I'll tell you something. I've told this story all the time. Back when I was at BRHS in junior high, I just really started. I mean, I'd played basketball, but not as much. But I mean, I was chunky. I was uncoordinated. Then when they put me in there, I threw a ball over the backboard one time trying to shoot. And, you could hear people snickering and saying things, but, what you need to do is take that to motivate you.
Right. I agree with that.
And so I worked and got better.
Guess what? You didn't like the way that felt, and you know why you fix it? There's two ways to fix it. Either run away from it or get better. There's two ways to fix it.
And everybody talking about the kids, but look, right now, sometimes if you're out there and you're out there playing, even if you weren't getting a paycheck, you are getting a scholarship.
Well, look, you are doing kids an injustice when you coddle them and you don't allow them to experience what the real world's like.
Disappointing.
Because they're gonna, because it ain't all roses and rainbows all the time. And so you got to experience that to kind of get a little bit of a mental toughness about you. Your parents or your whoever's not going to be there to defend you all the time. So you got to learn a little bit to deal with tough situations. And it's the society we live in now, unfortunately, man. I mean, but that's kind of been my philosophy. You do not do your kids any favors when you come to their rescue all the time on stuff. If they screwed up on something, you got to suffer the consequences, man. Learn how to fix it. Doesn't mean you don't care about them and love them, but if you love them, you really will let them do that and figure it out, because you're hurting them in the long run. So, all right, we got 15 seconds. Yeah, that brought up that. Welcome back, everyone, to the Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air. Again, reminder to go out to JR Sports Bar and Grill today. Auburn at 3, Alabama at 5 on the flat screen TVs in JR's, and then they'll be cooking up their great food as always. Luke, been great for 20-plus years with our program. Been serving people for over 26 years now here in the Lake Martin area. So go out and check JR Sports Bar and Grill.
Best wing sauce on the planet.
Absolutely. There's no question about it. Like, I say this all the time about Greg Vincent, who's a professional angler, one of my good friends. He goes all over the country fishing professionally, and he will tell you every time that JR Sports Bar and Grill has the best wings, hands down. And that's his thing. He eats wings everywhere he goes to just try and see if he can find some that are better than JR's, and he'll tell you unequivocally they don't exist in his mind, and mine too. I just think they're the best. I do think they have the best. I've tried to get them to bottle that stuff up, man, and sell it. I mean, I think they'd make a fortune. So the wing sauce is phenomenal. All right, to end the show here, got a few minutes, got about 4 minutes left here before we got to get off. You're heading over to Tuscaloosa to watch Alabama. I'm heading to Auburn to watch Georgia. Just kind of your thoughts on the game, Luke, as we close it out.
Really big game for Alabama. Can't drop that third one in a row. Always big to sweep Kentucky if you get the opportunity. You don't even get the opportunity to do it every year now. I mean, you don't play them twice every year. And Alabama does this year. They have an opportunity. They need to take care of business. Look, Auburn's going to handle Georgia, I believe this. I mean, just Georgia squad is not bad, but they have come back down to earth a little bit. Asa Newell, I mean, he's about as good a freshman as you'll see in the country, if you ask me. I mean, this is a guy that is just powerful.
He's phenomenal.
He's strong. He's good. And he can shoot. He's got a lot of poise, but there's not enough of him on that Georgia team.
Right.
So I think Alabama and Auburn will both win today, though.
Yeah, I do too. I think you'll see a different Auburn team today. We've talked all week about Auburn, Georgia, so I won't dive too deep into that. But again, Asa Newell was a guy Bruce Pearl really wanted. It's like he said, though, you can't go in and just cherry pick who you want anymore now because you've had great seasons. NIL has a lot to say about that. If he were picking a program on records, he would have obviously picked Auburn. But Auburn had other priorities for other players, and they chose those. And Asa Newell ended up going to Georgia and taking a better payday. But he's not, again, he's part of a 16-10 team, not a 24-2 team. So you have to live with those decisions. Tennessee and Texas A&M, that's a battle of 6 versus 7. Today, that's Tennessee going to A&M.
Big game.
It is a big game. Both teams have had disappointing losses, but also have had some impressive wins. So we'll kind of see what happens there. Mississippi State goes to Oklahoma. Ole Miss will go to Vanderbilt. Florida will travel to LSU, no problem there. Missouri will travel to Arkansas, and then a game nobody really cares about, Texas at South Carolina. So, but you don't want to be that one team that gets the L against South Carolina.
Wouldn't it be wild if the SEC had teams in back-to-back years, different teams go 0-18 in South Carolina?
And I think it's going to happen because I've looked at South Carolina's schedule. I don't see they're not going to beat anybody I see unless somebody helps them. It's going to have to be a horrific effort by whoever it is that they're playing coming down the stretch. And let me just see real quick who they've got left. They've got Missouri ain't winning that game. They've got Arkansas. That's at home. Maybe. I don't see it though. Georgia goes to South Carolina. Those are not winnable games. But then they close out on the road at Tennessee. So, again, they're not going to be favored in any of it. I think they're going to go 0-18. So, all right, Luke, that's going to wrap us up here for the Saturday Sports Countdown. Again, head out to JR Sports Bar and Grill today if you can. It's a great place to go watch the games. Check out Sunshine Heating and Air. Let me get it out for all your heating and air needs here in the Lake Martin area. Kevin Keel does a great job. Appreciate all of you with your comments and your questions. We'll be back with you next Saturday for another edition of the Saturday Sports Countdown. Hope everybody has a great weekend, everybody.
All right, bud. I'll see you. I got to run.
Same here. See you, buddy. All right.